Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's great to see everyone out. This is our spring forum for students. I'm Kate Conway-Turner, your president. And today we not only have students in the room for this conversation to ask questions, but we're also streaming this live. So we will have some students that might enter the conversation and ask questions that are not physically in the room with us. So it'll be great to hear from all of our students. I have with me the entire senior staff, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And so we will all be responding to questions that may come up. And so I'll start with Provost Melanie Perot.
Good afternoon, I'm Melanie Perot. I am Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs.
Say a little bit about, just so I know everybody does.
Okay, so I am in charge of all things academic, so the faculty and the deans and anybody sort of academic professional staff, the library, all report to me.
Mike Levine, Vice President for Finance and Management, and areas that I'm responsible for include the budget and finances, human resources, all our facilities planning and maintenance, university police, sponsored programs, and events management.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tim Gordon. I'm the Vice President for Student Affairs. I've been here a grand total of, I think, 2.5 months. And so my responsibilities really are to work with the team that works with our students from everything from our residence halls to our student union and our student life areas, and continuing to work with organizations such as USG to make sure that students have the pieces that they need on campus, whether that's dining services or things in that realm. So I guess the easiest thing to say is that the stuff outside of the classroom is a lot of what I deal with, and work very closely with my colleagues up here to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support our students' success.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Mayros. I'm the interim CIO and Vice President for Enrollment, Marketing, and Communications. My area is responsible for all the software and computers on campus, also all of the website and public relations, as well as enrollment, admissions, and financial aid.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karen Clinton-Jones, and I serve as the Chief Diversity Officer responsible for Title IX, our affirmative action programs, including our employment process and overall compliance issues.
I'm William Benfanti. I am the Interim Vice President for Institutional Advancement, which covers development, fundraising activities, government relations, and alumni engagement.
Okay, thank you. So that's the senior staff, and we also have a few other people in the room in key areas, so we might get into their areas and we might ask them to address some of the questions as well. So the way this is going to work is that there are a few questions that have already been sent to me. So we'll start with those questions and respond to those. Then there is a mic right in front. And so after that, if anyone in the room would like to ask a question, just come up to the mic and ask your question there. And so please do come to the mic to ask your questions, because we do have people that are a part of the discussion remotely, and so we want them to hear your question as well as to hear the answers to the question. So let's start with some of the questions that I've received so far. So the first question has to do with parking. And why are there limited parking for students at certain times of the day near actual classroom buildings? So a parking question. Mike?
Okay. So, the campus really doesn't have a parking problem. There's lots of parking available. It may have a convenient parking problem where students, faculty, and staff can't park as close as they would like to their classrooms or their buildings. But at certain times of the day, during peak, the middle of the day, there will be issues where people can't park at the center of the campus. But there are plenty of spaces, and we run the escort shuttle throughout the day if people do get pushed out on the Grant Street lots to where they're able to take the shuttle and get to the center of the campus.
Okay. A second question has to do with UPD and safety for students and staff on campus. And this questioner is concerned with knowing more about what we're doing to maintain a safe campus, that they say that they can Google the campus and they note that there have been problems on campus before, so they'd like to hear about what kinds of things are being done on campus to ensure safety for students and staff on campus. And so we'll ask Chief Carey, the chief of our UPD, to respond to that question.
Thank you, President Conway-Turner. We have a comprehensive program where we patrol the campus both in cars and on foot, as well in the warmer weather with bicycles. We look at calls that are taking place, crimes that are being reported, and requests for service, and we target our patrols in those areas. We have our ever-increasing video camera system that we utilize for visibility and patrol and deterrence. And as far as the shuttle service, we have an app that shows where the escort van is at a particular time. Someone can wait in safety or in warmth as the escort van travels around its predetermined route, which is the blue light emergency phones, which are also there as a means of emergency communication to University Police. We employ 55 student aides, which help us with patrol and visibility in the residence halls, the library, and other areas. Our escort vans also serve as a visible deterrence and a patrol, observe, and report for the University Police. But our biggest thing that we look for is that national see something, say something, and that when someone has a concern, to bring it to our attention, give us or others on campus the opportunity to check into it, respond to it. And as far as crimes that occur on campus, we are required by the Clery Act, and we're proactive in making sure that our community is aware of incidents that take place on campus so that they can take appropriate personal safety measures and to give them an update on how those incidents are being handled by the University Police and other members of the campus community.
Thank you.
I could just add to that a little bit. One of the things that we identified several years ago was the need for enhanced lighting across the campus. We actually did some walk-arounds the campus with various student groups and identified areas that needed enhanced lighting, and have instituted a program of renovation over the last couple years where we've significantly increased lighting, but also changed the lighting to LED, which is much brighter, much more energy efficient. And if we have a couple of years more of work to do, that we'll have most of the campus completed. And so lighting, and as we do the lighting, adding cameras throughout the campus. Cameras are both a preventative measure and a guide to help in investigations. So we've significantly increased them also.
The next question has to do with the orientation fee. So this student wants to know why we charge orientation fees and why they have to pay if they don't attend orientation.
So the orientation fee really does cover the costs of providing one of the programs that we know is tied very closely to helping students make a good transition to campus. And over the years, we've adjusted that model to make sure we're trying to meet the needs of different student populations. We know we have many working students. We have students who come here at what we would consider a more traditional age. And so we try to offer that in a number of formats. We tailor that for transfer students and adult students. And so if a student isn't able to attend in person, that fee also provides them the opportunity to participate in that program in an alternative format online and in other ways. So it's really important that we do that. And on our campus, we do see it as important enough to student success that we make it mandatory. And so that is why the fee exists. That is why the program exists. And so we try to be flexible where students don't have maybe the ability to attend in person, to be able to get that in that alternative format.
The next question has to do with part-time jobs on campus. And the question is why there aren't more part-time jobs on campus, and particularly the student was interested in why there are not more part-time jobs for international students on campus. So anyone want to take that?
I can take it.
Okay.
So first of all, I want to I'll do a shameless plug for all of you out there in the audience and online, that Orca is our online career or job portal for students, so you can access that through the Career Development Center's website. So make sure you do that. In general, the numbers in terms of campus jobs, we have more demand for them than we have ability to have students employed on the campus. So regardless of status, I think that also then becomes a real challenge for students who are on F1 visas, because if the jobs are heavily work-study programs funded by the United States federal government, then a student on an F1 visa would not be eligible for those opportunities. So most importantly, I want students to investigate what those options are. We continue to work with the campus to look at that, but you can certainly know that at a time of budget realignment, we are adding a lot of positions. And so, but if there are opportunities out there, they would be listed on Orca. And so we encourage students to do that, and we'll continue to look at this as an issue, but we don't know that we have a quick solution for that.
I'd also like to add that as it relates to international students, part of the application process is that they're demonstrating that they meet the financial wherewithal to pay for tuition and their housing experiences. And so in order for an international student to receive permission to work, they also have to work with the ISIS to receive permission for that process. And so it's not just that there aren't enough positions on campus, but there are additional measures that must be employed before students can get permission to work, not only on campus, but off campus as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There really are lots of jobs on campus. I don't know the actual number. I did see Stephanie in the room. Do you know how many jobs now? But there are really lots of jobs on campus. The next question really is related to the follow-up that Vice President Levine talked about with lighting on campus. And this question is, a woman is asking this question, and as a female, she's saying that at times she feels unsafe on campus because she feels there's insufficient cameras on campus. And so that she's concerned about sexual assault or something that might happen at nighttime. So is there anything more that either maybe Chief Carey or anyone wants to say that address sort of the concern from women in particular, this question is coming from, about feeling unsafe on campus?
Just in relation to the video cameras, as Vice President Levine said, in the residence halls or in any academic building, as we redo it, we significantly enhance and increase our video cameras, which we've done in Science and Mathematics Complex, Caudell Hall, Technology Building, Porter Hall was getting a significant increase by residence life and cameras. Every student apartment complex, Tower 4, as they're renovated, Tower 1, increased video camera coverage, and it's shown an increase in our ability to monitor situations in our investigation, resulting in identifying suspects. And so it's part of our overall capitals and facilities project that both indoor and outdoor, and when we redo a building, we not only put cameras inside, but we have exterior ones that give us broader exterior coverage of the video camera system. So we've really increased in the last 2 years, and the plans for future renovations include significantly more cameras on campus as well.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add something? And I think it's also important to realize that cameras will not capture every footprint of the institution. And so University Police has the wonderful escort service that's available. And so I would just implore any student, regardless of gender, to also exercise contacting University Police for the escort service, particularly in those instances where you feel unsafe.
I think there are also really great programs the police offer to individuals to feel more empowered about their personal safety. So whether that's helping you work through safety strategies and planning, self-defense, those pieces are really also important parts of kind of the plan that we have no matter where we are in the world. I remind folks all the time, and certainly as the newer person at the table, you really have to plan wherever we are based on kind of what we feel comfortable with, but having a real plan for that in terms of our personal safety. And we can do lots of things as a campus and are committed to doing that, but also there are lots of things that we can help individuals do to feel more empowered themselves. And certainly at any moment if there's a concern of safety. I know that the police are also able to respond to a student's phone call to say, look, I don't feel safe, I need some assistance, and we want to be able to do that, and we're oriented in that way. So it's really a collective effort, and so we want to make sure that students know all of the resources that they have to be able to be safe and create that plan.
Okay, thank you. A food question, and I see Glenn is in the room. This student is interested in knowing about healthy choices, and in particular, they're wondering why Chopped, which is one of the healthy options, is not open until 9 p.m. So I'm not sure what time it closes, but it must close earlier. So talk about healthy choices and Chopped in particular.
So we often respond to requests for later hours in retail fairly often. And what we'll always do is we'll always take a look at the data that exists. For example, last year there was a request for Chicken Spot to be open later, and we extended the hours from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. because the data supported that there's a need there. When it comes to Chopped, right now the guest traffic is fairly low near the end of their closing time, with less than 10 guests per hour. So that's something that we would keep in mind to be able to take a look at. Now, on the other hand, if from a salad option point of view, we do have salads available at Spot till their closing time, and then any student that has a specific request for a particular salad that they know that they want to get that evening, all they got to do is let us know, and then we can have that ready for you. We're very flexible when it comes to things like that.
And how do they let you know?
You can email me directly at glenn.buscello@compass-usa.com. We also have 2 text-to-solve numbers, which are located at the exit in the Bengal Kitchen, and then also down in the retail area. And we've also got our Dine on Campus notification. So if you go on our Dine on Campus, you can send us a message that way, and then we can make sure that we respond and confirm that we'll have it ready to go.
Okay, so multiple ways to ask for healthy options late if you are looking for that option.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we'll make sure we post those ways to contact in the FAQs after the session.
Sounds good. All right. So those are the questions I've received so far. So now we'll turn to an open mic. So if you would just come up to the microphone and ask your question, then the appropriate person will respond to it. So don't be shy, right there.
Hi, I'm Blake Hamilton, and my question is, how would we increase faculty and student involvement? Because I know that you guys have busy schedules, and I understand, but I feel like this is a college, and a part of your schedule should be involving yourselves with the students. A lot of the students don't know who any of you guys are, and it's hard for us to, a lot of the things that matter a lot to us don't get done here because you guys see it, well, some of you may see it as like, oh, they're not behaving properly or something like that, but you guys don't really understand us culturally and how we do things because you guys aren't really around. So if you guys were to see how we react with each other and how we operate, and we will also get closer to you guys will understand us more, and we'll be able to have a better college experience.
Sounds good. So your basic question is how to enhance sort of faculty connections and engagement with students, right? Provost.
So it's a great question and a great point. And you're right that sometimes it's really difficult at the end of a long day. Faculty tend to go home and have to deal with their families and all that sort of thing. But, this is something that the president and I have been talking about recently. And it is a huge part of the college experience is seeing faculty outside of class. As I told the president, when I was in college, I was a basketball player, but really I was a basketball bench player. And so I had a lot of time to look out in the audience. And I'll never forget when my faculty advisor showed up to see me sit on a bench for 40 minutes. But because it meant a lot that she took the time out of her really busy life and came to my particular event. So, I think it's something on the faculty side, we really want to work to increase. And so some of the things I've been thinking, a lot of times the truth is the faculty don't know about your events. And so maybe what we can look to do is some sort of invitation where, maybe some folks aren't really comfortable going up to the faculty and say, hey, I'm on the basketball team, or I have a concert, or this student club I'm involved in would love to have you come speak, or something like that. So maybe doing a little bit of that sort of communication, and then I think you're right, that this is something that matters. It matters a lot, and we can do a better job. And so we will. And I really do appreciate the comment.
And I would say for me, as the newbie at the table, it's been really important for me to do exactly what you talked about. That is where I am understanding best our student experiences. I've had a number of opportunities to spend my evenings in talking with students in residence halls, going to a number of events. We have an event tonight, I believe, here in the social hall. But that certainly is something that I have pushed to make sure that I know that a lot of our student affairs team is here working with you all in the evening. But that we have to look at how do we continue to partner and find those moments where we can say to faculty, here's some great opportunities to engage with students and better understand them and support them, and certainly also work with you if you want to make those invitations and don't quite know how to do that. The Dean of Students and others are areas that we can help you craft those. So don't be shy about reaching out to the Vice President for Student Affairs office or other offices to say, I have an idea about how to get more engagement. Let us know that, because it is really a partnership. But I think Melanie and I both really do see that as a really critical way to make sure that our students have the most successful experience that they can have, and certainly gives you great opportunities to informally interact with faculty and staff.
And I want to just thank you for that question, because I think that is a really important question as well. One of the things that I most enjoy is being able to go to some of the events that our students do, and you really get a chance to see another side of students, and so it's really exciting. So any good ideas you have, I agree with the Provost and Vice President Gordon, please send good ideas our way so that we can find ways to broadly encourage that kind of interaction. Next question.
Good afternoon. My name is Danielle Ballou. My response to the previous question, to answer your question about ways to get involved, we have a system called Bengal Connect, where you guys can just look on Bengal Connect and see what events that student clubs are throwing and just show up. And it will mean a lot to the students to see, like you said, when your faculty member, your teacher showed up at your basketball game, she didn't have to come, but she came. So if you guys just show up and come and show that you're a part of our student body, then it will mean a lot more to us. Sorry. But my question was for commuters. We do have, the system where we have UPD and like the escort van, but there are a lot of students who live farther out, not farther out, like on Forest Avenue, and don't have a safer way to get here because, for example, like R10, students walk through Hotel Henry. There are no lights down R10. So if you're ensuring lights for students who are on campus and going to their cars, I understand. But for students who are walking towards Forest and Reese, to unsafer areas, there should be a system where the escort van should actually go further out into Forest Avenue. I know it's costly, but at the end of the day, it's student safety. So I'd rather my safety over the cost. Thank you. That was my comment.
You want to talk a little bit about addressing commuter students?
Yeah, so, the idea of expanding the escort vans beyond the campus has been discussed, and it's really not a cost issue as much as it's an insurance issue. The drivers are students and would not be insured if we go off campus, so that limits our ability to do that. We are exploring the possibility of contracting out the escort service, we're still in the process of analyzing that. And if we did that, we would have an opportunity to maybe be able to expand it. We might approach United Student Government to help us with the funding of that. So that's something that could be a possibility going down in the future.
And to kind of add on that question, if anyone wants to speak to any special things that you do from your division to address needs of commuter students, because that does come up from time to time in my conversations with students, just wanting to make sure that we are attending to that portion of our population.
Well, I think certainly we have a great effort in student life. We have the commuter student breakfast, which is one of the examples, and I think we continue to hear, even in my conversations, I had a focus group with, or a chance to meet with a number of commuter students, and so I think we continue to look at what are spaces that commuter students can use, understanding from a food service standpoint what options we have and how we might expand those, because our commuter students certainly keep lots of different hours on our campus, and sometimes things are available and not. And so we want to continue to look at that, and I know, certainly we continue to look at getting to and from campus safely. So I would say certainly in the division, we continue to recognize that commuter students are obviously the majority of our students, and we want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to support them, and so we continue to engage with them through a number of our initiatives. Many of you also may know that we have some evening program focus, and so we try to make sure that things are not just going on in the traditional rhythm, but I've also heard from commuter students to say, we want to be careful to make sure that those events are worth a commuter student either staying on campus after a period, but I will also say that it's really important to not become a parking lot class to parking lot student. You miss so much in that piece. So we have a number of career initiatives and those sort of things that you can take advantage of. And so if you have questions or concerns about your experience as a commuter student, we want to hear about those and continue to look for ways to address that. So, but we do have a number of ways we do that.
Other questions?
Hi, I'm Joe Cicatello. I'm the USG Rules and Regulations Chair. I'm a commuter student, and I was wondering what kind of outreach we have to Buffalo school districts or them in the close vicinities for enrollment purposes.
I can address that. We do have a number of, we call them recruiters or advisors in the area that do travel to a number of the local high schools. They speak with students that are not just juniors, seniors, but actually at the younger ages to get them interested and involved in some of the programs that we actually have here on campus.
In addition to the direct connections for recruitment processes, our School of Education is deeply involved in the K through 12, both in the city of Buffalo and outside. So that shows a bit about Buffalo State in this other way with the teachers, with the counselors, with the students. And that's also a really great connection. The Anne Frank Project works with schools as well. So we actually have many, many ways that we connect with K through 12 throughout Buffalo and broader. Some for directly recruitment of students, but others for enhancement, to share our knowledge, to help to share expertise that faculty and staff have that could be applicable to the needs of K through 12.
And I'll do another shameless plug. Just last week, in this very room, we hosted a TEDx youth event, which was heavily attended by Buffalo Public School students and students from school districts around the area. It's out there on the web with some really great talks and really great exposure for those youth to understand what we stand for as an institution and maybe a possible destination for them.
I was also going to add, for my provost, we also have the Surrey and the early middle college, which helps high school students with experiencing college credits with the hope that they would transfer here.
Mm-hmm. And we're one of the largest feeders for Say Yes Buffalo as well. So through that program, students throughout the Buffalo area really get to know Buffalo State as a possibility for their college education. So really sort of multiple layered ways that we're connected. Other questions?
Good afternoon, my name is Tanner Cirillo, and I just have a question about gender-neutral bathrooms and gender-inclusive housing on campus, because I know currently there's only 3 gender-neutral bathrooms on campus, one of them being in this building and the other 2 being in the library, and the current plan for trans students is to place them into a medical dorm or into a medical single suite, which it's not really a medical problem anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not really seen as a medical problem, it's more of an identity issue. And I'm just wondering what your plans are in the future for gender inclusive housing and more gender inclusive events, because we do have a very very proud history of diversity, and I think we should start embracing our gender diversity as well as our racial and ethnic diversity.
Very good.
I can respond to that. We do have several gender-neutral restrooms, and we also have the option of doing so in the residence halls. And so for every specific need, I've partnered with Michael Heflin, the director of Res Life, to identify those students who may request such housing, and they've been willing to meet the needs of the student. The other thing that we're working on, or I don't even want to call it a challenge, is that we sometimes will use terms that's not recognized by the state. And so while we do have restrooms that are gender neutral, part of the challenge is that the ways in which our buildings are constructed, that we don't have the space to identify single-use restrooms. And so in those areas where we've been able to do so, we've done so. And the examination still continues.
In particular, the new Alumni and Visitor Center that's going to open up on Grant and Rockwell, as we have new construction, there are traditional gender bathrooms on the first floor, but there are single-use, gender-neutral restrooms on the second floor. So as we do new construction, as we rehab buildings or build new buildings, it's certainly something that we're sensitive to and trying to include, and thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Hi, hello, how are you doing? My name is Denver Jallo. I'm a sophomore here. I would just like to ask, well, two-part question. Why aren't there more programs geared towards students of color? And if there are, why aren't they promoted as much? Because me, as myself, I went through the NIA program. That's a mentorship program. I'm a mentee and a mentor, and I just wanted to know why that there aren't as many programs to help, bring up people of color that look like myself, because I walk around this campus and I see a lot of people that, could really use it, and I talk to them about it and they don't even know about it. So if there are more programs, why aren't they promoted? And if there's not programs, why aren't there programs? Thank you.
I can take that. So my office, Equity and Campus Diversity, sponsors a lot of the diversity programs on campus. We use Bengal Connect as a way of advertising. We also have student volunteers who are diversity ambassadors to help with promoting all of these events. And so I can't speak to why they're not well attended. What I can say is that I think our office and our students do a phenomenal job of advertising. So for example, we have the Diversity Dialogue series, we have the Dare to Be Diverse film series that addresses all types of diversity issues, but yet and still, the turnout is less than ideal. We partner with Res Life, we partner with athletics, we partner with faculty and staff to help promote the program. We get students to serve as the MCs for the programs, and yet, like many of you know, sometimes the audience does not reflect the effort that's gone into promoting the program. And so there's work to be done. And so if you're interested in partnering with my office to help in getting the word out, that would be great.
I think, as I have taken over and kind of looked just, answer your question in a more 40,000-foot view, but I think it certainly applies to specific program we do to support different student populations, is we have to really think about, and this goes back to the engagement question too, is how do we get the word out to students? How do we help them understand the benefits of that? How are we weaving those things together? And that's a piece that certainly in the Division of Student Affairs we continue to look at, because I think some of the strategies we have in terms of being out there and kind of getting students engaged, maybe having kept up with some of the ways that students now consume information. And so we have to really have a multiple platform perspective about this. I think some of the challenges, Dr. Clinton Jones alluded to, is making sure the word is out, but also understanding why students do or do not come to things. And so we may believe it's a great opportunity for students, but if we don't have kind of good student feedback about what's helpful, then we probably maybe also, so there may be a program, for example, for you that works really well, but there may be another population student that needs a slightly different iteration of that, and we have to be able to meet all of those needs as best as we can.
I'd also like to add that we've got the Men of Merit program, specifically towards men on campus, partnering with Erie Community College, looking at the ways in which young men are persisting through college, and we also partner with the Amen Group. So I don't know if you're familiar with those two organizations, but they are on campus.
Hi, my name is Tiana, and I'm a junior here at Buffalo State. So I find it kind of difficult to form a question sometimes, like in open settings like this. So the last time we had the forum in Bolger, I spoke to, I forgot your name, I'm sorry, but both of you ladies regarding some of my concerns that I feel like would be best, addressed in a meeting, more personal setting, because I have multiple things to say. And I reached out to you, and I've gotten contact. You told me to email you, and I've emailed you countless times. If you rescheduled this meeting about 5 times, right, Blake? About 5 times. And so now I'm back, and I have even more to say, but you spoke about, how you can get more feedback from us, and I feel like I've went through multiple ways to try to tell you about my experience, and also being a victim of, I don't know if you know about Monarch housing, but a lot of students were evicted, were homeless, and that's something that, there's not a lot of people here today, maybe because they're busy or something, but what other ways, other than just having this forum every 6 months, could you, find out what's going on? Because this has been happening. People have been homeless. People have, lost their financial aid because the last semester they didn't do so well because they're stressed out about they can't pay for Monarch. And this is someone who promoted on our campus, who, basically bribed us, hey, you want a taco? You want this? You want $200 off of this and stuff like that. And ultimately, down the line, they fell back on that, and we had to cough up money that we didn't even have. We don't even have money to cough up for tuition here. So, what, other than this forum, could we do to get students to give the feedback? Because just being here, obviously, we have a lot more student body than this. And I've tried reaching out personally, that didn't work. So what else would you like me to do?
So there's a lot in your comments there, but the first thing let me address, you said you reached to my office 5 times and you weren't scheduled?
Yes, I've even,
That's really hard to believe that you reached out. I mean,
Kate, she was referring to me, and so we've had lunches scheduled and then had to
So you're not talking about me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you've been trying to get on Dr. Clinton Jones' calendar. Okay.
And it just hasn't worked out. And, I grew tired of, because now it's just like next semester and it's even worse. And now I can't even gather all the thoughts that I really want to say just in the little hour or whatever we have right now. You know what I'm saying?
Well, in terms of having that conversation, I'm sure we can facilitate you to have a conversation with Dr. Clinton Jones so that you can sit down one-on-one and talk about some of the concerns that you have. But around the housing issue and sort of how we're working with students on off-campus housing, I will turn to Vice President Levine and Gordon to talk a little bit about how we work with students around housing and sort of the difference between on-campus housing and off-campus housing.
So there are a couple of concerns. I will say that we continue to hear concerns of our students living off campus, and as we've moved into this process, certainly we are mindful that there are some things that folks that don't necessarily, obviously carry our campus affiliation, we still have to continue to empower our students differently to be able to navigate that. So I know we have a number of legal resources that I want to make sure students are able to access. They can do that through the Dean of Students office. The Dean of Students can make a referral. So if students are finding themselves, and I know that doesn't help a student who's already been through it. We also have a new emergency grant program that students can apply for an emergency grant. That information is available on the Dean of Students website. So as we've seen some of these concerns, we've tried to address those. The other piece that I've asked us to continue to look at in student life, we have a suite called Adulting 101, and so we really are looking with housing and others as we have students who we know are making plans to live off campus, either because of policy or choice, that we do more to continue to educate them on what that means and be able to do that, because I think we all recognize that it's a big responsibility. I think, people can explain things about what leases mean and, give you said a free taco, right, and make it sound really great, and then all of a sudden, but I would say, if there's some predatory pieces that are happening, for example, students are being charged something that they didn't agree to by lease, then we definitely want to continue to make sure we use the resources and refer students to the resources that we have. I will also say that in the Vice President's office, if you can't get through to anyone, or where you have a specific concern, I am happy to come out and talk with students and spend time with them. I do that just by nature, informally and formally. Or if you want to make an appointment in our office, I always we'll certainly prioritize getting students some time on my schedule. I know that others up here do the same thing. And so I want you to know that I'm accessible. I've also said to many students who I've met with, it may be just cornering me as I'm walking across the plaza and saying, hey, can I get a few minutes of your time to talk about this issue? But know that that is what brings all of us to work every day. We want to make sure that we are supporting you. And I recognize that there have been some challenges as we've moved through that in terms of whether it's on campus or off campus housing. And so as we have individual student concerns, we want to make sure that we're being referred to those resources and getting those supports. And then we're also looking at where we can make some shifts as we can.
Good afternoon again. So my first question is to ask, what happened to the Student Success Office? Because I don't know really what happened to it, and if you guys can explain on why it no longer exists, because if students have these concerns, they should know what office to go to express these concerns. Like, does anybody know where I can go?
So, hi, I'm Sarah.
The Dean of Students is going to take this question. You need to be on the mic.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll share a mic with you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Young. I'm the Dean of Students. And so earlier in the question, I was going to interject, if I had time, that the Dean of Students has open office hours on Tuesdays and Fridays every week during the fall and spring semesters. I also have a monthly lunch that I host for students to answer any questions. So I think it was Tiana, right, earlier. And also I meet with students continually. But in terms of student success, I would say any questions that you have in regards to emergency relief, academics, our office is a reference for you. We're right here behind the fireplace, and we help students get to the right place or the right person, either on this panel or on campus all day. So always feel free to come back.
And my last question is, in what ways have you guys involved students in your decisions thus far? Like, when you guys decide to move seniors off campus and you guys decide to not have certain things in place, in what ways are students involved when it comes to enrollment and having faculty in new positions and surveys and things like that? In what ways are you involving students in these decisions? That's my last question.
That's a big question. There's lots of different ways, so probably everybody could say something about how they involve students. So I'm going to turn it over and let them talk a bit first, and then I'll round it out.
So let me just make a plug that right now you should have in your email a student survey. And this is something that SUNY issues every 2 years. And it's a student satisfaction. It's completely about hearing from students and understanding what the concerns are, what's going well, what's not going so well, what could be improved. And a lot of surveys end up going on a shelf somewhere and nothing happens. But this survey is particularly important because it happens every other year. What we can do is see where there's sort of trend lines. And when we see, hey, geez, this particular thing keeps cropping up, maybe we need to make some changes there. And so a real tangible example of that is academic advising. And so that kept coming up in student surveys, that there was some difficulty there that needed to be improved. And so we have invested a lot of time and money and personnel into improving our academic advising. there's still, a ways to go in that, but I think the improvements are significant. So the drop-in advising center, for example, is a tangible result of very specific student feedback. So that's just one example. So that's out there. Please engage in that and be as direct as possible. We did involve students in the creation of the whole strategic plan for the college, and so there was student input taken there. And so there's lots of ways in the academic affairs side where we look for student input and the college as an institution as a whole.
There are a number of different groups on campus that make decisions and govern different bodies. So the alumni board has a student representative. The foundation board has a student representative. The college council, which governs the entire campus, has a student representative. And as the provost mentioned, when we did the strategic plan, which is this 5-year plan that governs everything we do on campus, we had facilitated meetings, opened them up to students. There was a budget discussion because the campus currently has some budget challenges, so we had made sure we had a specific forum geared to students. So each of the governance structures that we have involve student representatives. Every time we try to survey opinions on campus, we make sure that we have students there as well as faculty and staff, so specifically targeting students. But in answer to pretty much every other question you've raised, and you may not like this answer, is you have to learn to be pains. I mean, everybody here, they're wonderful people. I'm interim, so I've only been working with them in this capacity for a few weeks. They all care about you. They all care about this place very much, but you have to, from this point on and for all of your adulthood, have to be a pain because you know your situations and you know your friends' situations, and you have to come and be a bit of a nag and come back. And you shouldn't have to all the time, and sometimes someone will solve your problem right away. But if we don't, come back and harass me. And I tell everyone, please bother me. If I forget, if something falls off, it's not because of you, it's not because I'm ignoring you, it's that something else has taken place and you get busy, people get busy, but you have to be a nudge, and you will never not have to do that in life. That's what it's going to be. So I apologize if any time one of us has missed, or that in the future when I do, but come back and bother us, please. Oops, I'm
Mike,
sorry.
I always say that being, sorry, Mike, do you want to go ahead?
I was thinking you want to talk a bit about whenever there's fee changes or anything that have to do with finances, how you seek student input.
Right. We hold open forums for fees for our broad-based fees for any proposed increases. Bill mentioned the open forum to instruct the campus students on the budget situation. We have committees on parking and transportation that includes student representatives, and so we always try to include that feedback into anything that we do that impacts students.
I think there's certainly some formal challenge. I always frame it, Bill, as being appropriately assertive.
There you go.
Right? I think, so there are times we want to make sure, but I will say that for me, it's been really important. One, that I'm asking all of my staff that are recommending any changes or any of those things, the first question I ask is, how have we talked to students about this? And if I don't get a good answer, and I don't want it to just be some of the kind of traditional ways we do that. I want to look at how we drill down further to talk to, as I say, the student on the street. And I also think it's important for me to spend that time as well. So I try to do that. Some of you I have harassed over chicken nuggets in the bingo kitchen, or while you get in your subway here in the Union, or as you've gone off to class. But those things are really important ways that we have multiple ways of hearing students' perspectives, and also as students meet with different offices, that we're kind of pulling that information together to identify, are there trends emerging that we can make changes on and address?
Anybody else? So I think you're hearing from my colleagues here that there are multiple ways that we seek student input into all the work that we do. Some of them are through surveys, which we do regularly, and a lot of them are through various groupings. I meet with the president of USG. I know that my colleague, Vice President Gordon, does as well. So we seek multiple ways, and this is just one. So this is not the only way we get information from you, but this is one of the ones that I thought having this kind of open forum would give a wider variety of voices in the room at the same time. So we do try to listen, and we do want to get feedback, and we really appreciate you coming out and providing some today, and the other ways that you do as well. Yes.
Hello, my name is Chanel Enrick. I am the AVP of Campus Programming. I have a bit of a loaded question, comment, and solution. So,
Loaded comment and a solution. Okay.
Yes, I am a PR student.
Okay.
Hello. So I'm going to start with the comment solution part, which is for housing. I know that there is an emergency grant. I recently applied for one as well, but it's also important to note to students that there is an eligibility requirement as well. So it's great that you have that grant relief program. Thank you to Dean of Students for helping me out with that. I really do appreciate it. It came in handy. However, I feel as though there are multiple avenues that we can go to help students just in case they do not qualify for that grant. And one of them could be emergency housing on campus, because sometimes the Red Cross cannot always help. And so there should definitely be emergency housing on campus just in case students don't qualify for the grant or do not have other access. You do not have friends that live off campus, because you can't share a twin-size bed, if we have to be honest. So I feel like that's something that the school should definitely implement or try to implement. So that's that. Also, you mentioned that there are student representatives on certain committees. How many student representatives are on those committees? I'm also on USG, so yes, I know that there's a grant allocation committee, there's the Faculty Student Association, and while there are multiple students on those, there are other committees that may only have one student, and sometimes one student is not enough, because not one student can speak on behalf of over 10,000 undergraduate students. So that's something that's really important as well. So I'll appreciate if you guys can answer that for me today. Sure. Thank you.
Well, I'll start by saying that we have a college senate. So where some institutions have a faculty senate and only the faculty come together, we actually have a college senate which represents students as well as faculty and staff. And that's a really great way for students to be involved in a robust, throughout the entire year, discussion of whatever is happening on campus and bringing things forward. And through the Student Welfare Committee particularly to bring up issues. So that is a great forum that we have. But I'll let others talk about sort of the varied way that students are represented, because it really varies depending on what the particular group is.
So for most of the, whoops, broke that, I'm just taking it. For the alumni board, it is a variable number. It's 1 or 2, but the entire board is 15 members. So it's a percentage. It's pretty significant. On the college senate, how many members of the student members of the college senate? It's a quiz question. There are a number of, your best voice would be
10
there.
10 slots, maybe? 10 or 12 slots on Senate, something like that?
That's the place where most campus issues are vetted. It has a significant number of undergraduate student slots and a small number of graduate student slots. So that's significant. The college council, entire council is 9 members, and there's one student representative. Mm-hmm. So it's not so much that there are multiple students on each panel, it's that there's student representatives on every panel, and where there is a large body, there are multiple students. And that's, again, just those formal governance structures. They're the informal. I mean, there's the chicken nugget conference that Vice President Gordon has, or soy nuggets, I hope, if the students presuppose. But there are other opportunities to engage, but those governance structures have limited numbers of positions. It's more having that ability to have student voice on there somewhat, and then every one of these other forums. And each vice presidential area, the provost, when she was first here, had the strategic planning initiative and made sure that we had multiple student forums. Again, Vice President Levine for the Budget Committee made sure that we had a special forum for students, and then students were welcome at every other forum. So trying to make sure, and it is a problem because commuter students have maybe not always the parking lot to classroom to parking lot problem, but your time is limited as well. So sometimes those opportunities don't fit in with you, and that's where the appropriately assertiveness comes in. So there are opportunities. There will never be enough, but we do try.
it's also important for students when they're representing students on these various committees to really talk to the student body, to talk to others, not just be about their own perspective. So for instance, I'm thinking of some really good work that we did last year around changing some of the things we did at graduation, commencement. There are 3 students on the commencement committee, and they went back and forth talking to various people about, the kinds of things that were being discussed and what students wanted to see. That's really important. So if you're just on a committee and you don't do that, then you really can't represent whether you have 10 students or 1 student on it. So it's important to do that. So one of the things I've been talking with Vice President Gordon about is, how can we better prepare our students for those kind of leadership roles? So what is the responsibility, how to connect with your constituency and so forth. And so we really hope to enhance that as we move forwards. I really don't think it's about our students not being a part of these. I think that we have students on so many different opportunities, but are they making full advantage of it? And so can we figure out ways to help them understand, to fully take advantage of their voice on those various committees? I think that'll be very important. So maybe one last question. Yes? We're switching out with the last question.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Ijaz Eberhard, and I had some concerns about some of the infrastructure and maintenance problems here. Within the past few months, there's been a water main break in the Union. Students in the North Wing have lost hot water. Lately, I've been hearing about foul smells coming from Rockwell Hall. So I had a few questions here. I was wondering, how much is the city's responsibility and how much is above states? I was also wondering, there are a lot of complaints coming in from students about these issues, and what's being done to ensure a safer and more convenient living and learning environment for students here?
Okay, sounds good. Mike, that sounds like that's definitely your question.
Okay, so anything on the campus proper is our responsibility. So the water main break that shut down the student union, that was our responsibility to identify it, shut it off, fix it, and all that. It is an aged infrastructure, and with the weather we've had, those things are going to happen. They happen in the city, all your towns. We're aware of a lot of the maintenance issues, but if there are things that people are aware of, 6111 is the number to call to make sure that our facilities people are aware of it and can investigate. We have a high critical maintenance backlog. We're subject to the funding availability. We're limited on staffing availability. We prioritize and try to address what we can. We're always going to have issues, emergency type issues. This is a little city, and our staff tries to do the best they can to prevent things. But they're also pretty responsive when it happens. Rockwell, we've had an issue in that building with water seepage into the building, and we've been working for close to a year now trying to identify where it's coming from, and we haven't been able to. We did a fix several months ago, and we thought we had it solved, and it hasn't been solved, we need to do some additional work there, but the water seepage is getting into the drywall. It's the basement area, and we've pulled that out and we got to identify the source.
We have a lot of beautiful historic buildings, which is great, but they also are old buildings, and so I think that facilities does a really great job keeping ahead of some of the many problems that our SUNY campuses all face, because we all are sort of about the same age, and we're actually turning 150 in 2021, so around the corner. But thank you for the question.
I'm sorry, my name is Quazel. I know you said that was the last question.
That's right, so that was next to the last.
Next to the last?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
This is really the last, okay.
I'm sorry. I appreciate what you said. My question doesn't really concern, what they're really speaking about, which is very important. I don't mean to disrespect it. But I'm a music producer first, and I make music on this campus. I get a lot of work done in Stack. I try to be a part of the Rockwell Records thing that's here. No disrespect, it sucks. I mean, me and my friends, we make a bunch of music in our dorm room, and there's a studio that this industry sound, and I have no access to it. I'm a DNP minor, but there's unbelievable talent that I've worked with on this campus that no one knows about, you know, and I don't know how to get that, get people to like be a part of it. So what I can say is I don't know if it's, if it's possible, but I want to start an organization where I can get a bunch of people that's involved with music, and I could be the president of it, and get a bunch of people to just network, because I learned something from my professor. His name is Gary Berger, and he taught me the power of networking, and that's how you succeed, and I think in college. So I was wondering, my question really is, how do I start an organization to get a bunch of people that do music and create something for Buff State? I'm gonna stand here. I'm not gonna walk away like I wanna like have a conversation. Yeah.
All right. Well, there is a way to start an organization here on campus. Any clubs, Dean of Students? Do you want to talk a little bit about what one goes through to start a club on campus? And I agree with you that we have amazing, talented students, and really across all kinds of genre, not just music, but amazing artists, amazing dancers, amazing theater, absolutely. So we have a really rich and deep history of great performers here on campus.
Right. And I mean all talent.
Oh, yeah.
Access to music, too.
Right.
She wanted you to restate that part, too.
Right. Okay.
Okay, there's two questions. Right, the first one.
So starting a club on campus is through the Student Life Office. That's where you start to get registered. And I know, oh, there she is. I was like, Kristen was here earlier. Kristen Helling is the Assistant Director in Student Life, which is right upstairs in 400. And any student can find information on how to start a club also online if you're interested. And then she can help you, walk you through the process, finding an advisor, things like that, a mission statement. And I'm sure it's something that we don't already have, which is the only kind of caveat that we don't allow too many repeat organizations on campus. And I guess I'll throw it back to here about accessing departmental space in terms of non-departmental students, which I think is the point to your production question. Okay.
So I'm not sure. I assume this is about the communications
I don't know if it's communication or music. I'm not sure which department.
Where's the lab?
Well, there's a community union.
Yeah, I heard you, but so the question is for the viewers far and wide is how can non-majors have access to the music labs? Like a training thing or something? Yeah, sure. It's a great suggestion, and I will definitely look into it. So it's probably due to expense. You know, we probably have to find a way to prioritize majors who need to. You know, they have a project due the next day or something like that. If we could figure out a way to prioritize that, and then do a training so that a light version of the training so that you understand the equipment. But I think it's a terrific idea, and I'll definitely go back and talk to the faculty in both of those areas and see what we could work out.
And we'll put an answer to this because we're not quite sure how non-majors access for music right now. But I know this question came up a couple of years ago about other spaces in terms of theater spaces. And so I know that the theater department went back and they really reviewed it and came up with some policies so other students could utilize the spaces in appropriate times. So it's the same question as that, just a different genre. So, but this particular one has not come to our table before, but we'll research it, and we will make sure the answer is on the questions from this session. So thank you so much. And thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you coming out and asking questions, and I hope that you got some of the responses that help you understand, and we'll continue the dialogue. For the young woman who needs to connect with Dr. Clinton Jones, please connect before you leave so that she knows who you are, so we can expedite that conversation. And we're all here for a bit if anybody needs to talk to us individually. Thank you so much. I see a hand. Are you wanting? Come on up.
Is there a scribe for this event?